Dearly beloved, we are gathered here for yet another by all means necessary podcast. And I'm your host, Maja. Don't you say dearly beloved on funerals? This is already promising. It's already a great day. Great start. I have reached that level of quarantine where I have done such half-ass workouts today, like I might have as well not done them. Also, I should have YouTubed this shit, cause I somehow, again in my next level laziness, the other day I kind of invented a couch workout just so that I don't have to move. Listen, we do what we can to survive, okay? And as I told you, motivation is a fucking myth, so you just get up and do it. Better something than nothing, right? Well, the protagonists of this story might have thought the same. Today I'm bringing you the story that probably every single other podcaster, professional podcaster covered in the appropriate time, which is December, Christmas time. No, I'm wild. I'm it's May. I'm bringing you Santa Claus robbery. Fuck everything. Fuck logic. And you know how last week we had an underwhelming one? This week, if anything, it will teach you never to commit robbery unless you have the most brilliant plan that definitely doesn't have any holes in it. Because these guys just didn't really nail it. They didn't. But to put you into the context of Cisco, Texas in 1927, let's go through a bit of history on the important facts, okay, shall we? Its focus was on becoming a trade hub. It was exporting their own goods. Good, check, tick. Its population quadrupled from 2K to 8K. Woo, check, tick. It allowed for bank robberies. What? Great, oh how did they do so? How generous of them, how great of them. Basically, the flows of cash went into the bank vaults of small cities, which were undeveloped and spread out. This was due to the oil boom in central regions. So it's Central's got the oil, and then they're oh, where the fuck we gonna go with all this money? Well, vaults in small cities. Smart, until other people clock on it. This resulted in about 3 to 4 robberies per day. That's extensive, okay? Even for any time. 3 to 4 robberies a day, what the fuck are we doing? Are there no protection measures in place? Well, now that you asked. Because of this, robbery was a capital offense at the time, which meant you go straight to be hanged. Damn right, that's how you do it. However, what encouraged robbers was that the money was insured, so that kind of encouraged them because it looked like an innocent crime. It's yeah, you're not technically robbing anybody of their money. And because this is Texas, and as I just told you, the robberies were nonsensically common. They were cool, capital punishment, great, but what's even better is we're gonna put up a reward for shooting robbers. So this was dubbed Dead Robbery Reward, and it obviously didn't pay for wounding, so only a dead man would do, and what you get is staggering $5,000, which again, even in today's money, is insane, let alone in 1927. How did anybody think this was a good idea? It's solving crime with crime, legit. By the way, Miss Sloane, if you haven't watched that fucking movie, it's one of my best movies. Airplane, Miss Sloane, But yeah, it's just gun violence being solved with gun violence. Is it? Can it be done? Let's learn from this. In 1927, Christmas came to Texas 2 days earlier than usual. Marshall Radcliffe walked into the First National Bank, followed by 3 other robbers. They pulled the most unsuccessful robbery you'll hear about, leaving 6 Texans killed in the process. We've got our crime, we have our killers. What were their motives? What the fuck was that intro? Do you know how hard it is not to laugh at such a dumbass intro? It's just because I write them at last, I write them as the last thing, of course, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to summarize the whole thing. But it's just after this whole thing I was yep, this is the most unsuccessful robbery I've heard about. Yep, will I proofread this before saying it out loud? No, of course not. Christmas came early. Yep, that's totally a phrase that hasn't been used before. So how early did Christmas come? Well, it was the 23rd of December. 23rd of December, and Santa was just walking down the streets and saying hi to kids. So this already again is a super promising start to the robbery. Because the kids being kids, This is already, okay, why this is the worst start? Because it's like kids are gonna just be lurking around, being like, well, Santa, what are we getting for Christmas? Am I getting the gift that I asked? Like, dumbass. And Santa doesn't have a plan, so he tells these kids he can't get them gifts, but they should speak to their parents. No. First of all, you don't have to rob a bank, tell kids like this, right? If anybody's an expert of like telling others whether or not Santa exists, it's me. I ruined that dream for my bro. He was, in all honesty, like, he was pissing me off. It's just like one of those nagging me, like, Maya. So he was a little shit, and he was like 7. I was like, come on. Somebody needs to tell this child. But yeah, also he, like, you know, it was impulsive and he pissed me off at that moment. So again, not a cool move, Santa, yeah? Just go disillusion, like, your family. Not like every kid on the street being like, yeah, you go speak to your parents about those presents. Yeah, you ask them where they put them. Sorry, what? Now, of course, as you do have, like, nagging children, there was this mom and daughter blessing game. And now the daughter is like nagging the mom to like, just go, let's follow the Santa, I have one last wish, you know, one last thing to add to the list. Again, this is why you stop lying to your kids. Like, I don't see myself selling my child the story that Santa exists. I'd be like, okay, so listen. So nobody knows this is like a secret, but you should be grateful to me for these fucking presents. And Santa shouldn't just be taking credit for it, okay? Because I earned this money, yeah, little shit. But you know, let's keep it like a little secret between us, yeah? No need for anybody to know. So now, Marshall Radcliffe, or Santa, you know, the graceful, mighty Santa, is already inside the bank. He pretends like he's filling out a form while queuing. There's this record of like the teller being like, oh, Santa, how are you? And he's just like ignoring them and then approaches the teller stand. And in that moment, 3 other men pull up behind. Now, this is also when Blessing Games walk in, with like the daughter looking for Santa. They realize it's a robbery and they just try to go back through the main door, but like the men are now surrounding them. But they manage to run through the alley door, because again, these guys have no plans of the building, nothing. It's just like everybody just like starts running through the alley door and screaming that somebody's robbing the bank. Already great first 60 seconds of the robbery, so promising. Not surprisingly at all, the cops would actually be the least of these robbers' worries, because Blessing is running and screaming had drawn the public attention, and as you remember, there's a dead robber reward out there. This lot is shitting themselves in the bank because there's obviously a huge crowd outside. They fill up the bags with $12,000 in cash and $150,000 in bonds, which would in total be about $2.2 million today. So you're like, okay, cool. Maybe they get away with money. Maybe this all ends up well for them. By this point, Blessing Games... Is it Blessing Games? I like all Blessing Games, yeah. Blessing Games reached the chief of police, Bedford. So this is the guy that was famous for arresting bank robbers in this area. So now everybody's in front of this bank, right? Like, these guys are clearly, while they're fucking putting money in, everybody's just there, like, waiting for them to just come out. Bedford has a peek inside the bank to, like, you know, check the situation out. And now is when robbers start shooting. So everybody outside starts shooting at them as well. There's, like, no standoff, no, like, oh, negotiation, like, let's try to salvage these hostages. Nada, nothing. No. Now, remember the back alley door? Well, they actually realize, hey, maybe we should go out this way as well. So the hostages start running out of there to save their lives, and so do robbers, using these hostages as the human shield, in which process 6 people got killed, including 2 police officers, other hostages and bystanders, and including Bedford. Now is that thing where you're like, okay, you weren't successful until now, and this is what you decide to do? So they grab 2 little girls from the crowd and jump into the car. So they grab these 2 girls called Laverne Corner, 12, and Emma May Robertson, 10, to use as hostages. Now, what I don't understand is just people just keep shooting. Like, I understand there's dead robber award, but like some common sense. There's apparently 200 bullet holes in the bank and about 50 to 100 in the car. And of course now, like, if their rage was there before, now they've kidnapped 2 little girls. Everybody's fuming. Okay, so now we're with these guys on the road, right? They have all the money. They're like, woo, we run it. As long as we play this right, it's all gonna end up well. We're rich. Great. Okay, first thing that you do when you start a robbery and you want it to be successful and you have a getaway car, what do you have to ensure? Maybe, just maybe, that you have a fuel in that car. These bitches like ran out of fuel, like ran out of fuel pretty fast, like after starting, you know, that fucking getaway. the record shows that they stopped the 14-year-old driver again. How is this kid 14 driving? Anyways, nothing makes sense. Cool. On the road to like swap the car, but what they realize is like they stop the guy, so he goes like takes up running. They like all kind of like sit into that car like, whoa, they're ready to go, and they realize the keys for the car are not there, so the car is useless to them. Great stuff. Amazing amazing hour of this robbery already. So now they go back to the original car, but because they moved all the money, they forgot about the money, so the money is in the freaking car that they wanted to take. A round of applause, please. It's just, this case makes me insanely happy. Just it's exactly what I would do like committing crime. It's like you need some level of level-headed. You can't just be like, you need the planning. You need like to know what you're doing, because in that case, when everything is moving like mad, in the case of chaos, like you're not gonna be composed. This is why you need some fucking planning, or just few like basics. Again, not encouraging anybody to do this shit, but this also reminds me of like the time when I tried to like save my bro from like drowning. Because again, it's a very successful attempt. So we were at this like beach in fucking Montenegro, like some weird ass shit. He was like not really little, but like it was like he didn't know how to swim properly yet. You can see like he's struggling, kind of like starts choking, and like kind of seems like, yep, he is struggling, he's gonna drown. So like my dad starts running. I'm like, no, I got this, Dad. I've been swimming since I was like 3 years old. Not everything happened since I was 3 years old. So I was like 5, 6, whatever. Anyway, I was like, I got this, Dad. I have us covered. So I run into to like save my bro, right? Hero of the day. What I do is like I pull him up by his arm. Just like me victoriously holding my bro with his arm while his head is still underwater. Genius. This is it. This is this whole robbery. Now they're like, okay, this car is useless, so they leave the girls in the car. Luckily, at least, I mean, luckily because they got found, but yeah, again, dickhead move. And they continue on foot. So in the next 48 hours, they're gonna steal other 3 cars and just move these cars, like move about this. And things go pretty quickly now, so like the weather goes to like really cold and icy. They have no money because they're the worst robbers ever. They get ambushed by Sheriff Foster. There's now another car chase, and they again try to escape on foot, but Radcliffe is hit and caught, and then the other robbers are also wounded, but like they run and manage to last other 2 days. So these robbers, let's go to trial, let's see what they got for these like crimes they've done. So Robert Hill, one of the robbers, gets 90 years. He tries to escape 3 times. Like, what are these prisons? And what is this guy's luck again? Because he like manages to escape and then gets caught. But apparently like he kind of changed, he felt remorse, wrote to the families. This is who you gotta be, like this side of Robert Hill, okay? You gotta pretend at least, like, or just, don't be a dickhead and say you're sorry to families so that they at least hate you less and can live with themselves. And he died in 1996. Helms, another robber, got a death penalty because he shot the chief of police and the deputy, according to eyewitness statements. Now, did all those witnesses get something? That will be interesting to know. So, Helms is said to have had cabbage, sausage, tomatoes, coffee and pie as his last meal. Not judging, but what the fuck do you have cabbage for your last meal? Also, if there's any time when I would be against coffee, that might be for your last meal before like a death penalty, just because it's just going to like enhance the experience. So this was hanging, so like it's just going to enhance it. That's the one time when you're like, you might want to lay that off, you might not need it. I know that it's coffee, but it's probably going to be shitty coffee anyways, so it's like you might lay that off for your last meal, okay? Radcliffe is also sentenced to be executed, and 10-year-old Emma Robinson that he kidnapped testified against him. So this guy, this fucking genius. No one could testify he actually shot a single bullet. So he's like, let me play this, the Radcliffe style. So he starts claiming mental insanity. And apparently in 1920s, all you had to do to like start looking like a mentally insane person is just to like pretend you're immobile. You just pretend you're stunned, you're like, you can't move, you can't do anything by yourself. So he takes a fucking piss, and there's these 2 jailers, Tom Jones and Peck Kilburn, that start to assist him. So he just dragged around to everywhere, toilet. He was like hand fed. I put an old all that jazz because it's like, yep, I can't be asked to look what else. But basically, like, just imagine somebody taking a piss. If I had to hand feed somebody who is like not a baby, and then I realize that they're actually taking a fucking piss the whole time, I'd be fuming. So obviously, also, if you do this, the guards are actually eventually going to leave you unattended because they're gonna relax. But as at this point he was acting paralyzed and shit. This script is the chillest script that you will ever see. So he sneaks out to like this guard office or whatever the fuck it was at the time and manages to get a gun. So fatally wounds one of these jailers and the other one manages like to beat him and return him to the cell. Now of course this spreads to town, he is hated. And the public, actually 2,000 members of the public, managed to convince the jailer to hang him. So they all take him out to hang him and he is pronounced dead in November 1929. And now again this kind of like becomes a myth in the city because it's said that several thousands people viewed his body the next day before the judge like ordered for the corpse to be locked up. Which again, this is some Handmaid's Tale shit, okay? Don't do this. Like even if you go, time machine, go back to 1927, don't do this shit. Again, now people are telling each other, they're like, yep, I've definitely been present there, I know somebody who was, they told me this. And it's part of the local folklore. You guys, you in Texas, you know how to live. Also, this was apparently the last trial held in that building because in Eastland District Court, because afterwards it was demolished. But the First National Bank still stands strong, although it's now in a new building. That doesn't give you the same fucking appeal, does it? And this bank apparently now has a medallion commemorating the robbery, because that's how you do it, huh? That's how you do it in Texas, yeah? You're doing this the way I've done with my half marathons and like all of my runs, yeah? You just keep the medals hung at your mirror that you should technically be using as like a makeup area, but you are a tomboy. Does anybody ever wonder, this is my thoughts in quarantine, because like there's this park that I go to constantly and like every fucking bench is commemorated, which I'm like, that's great, it's in memory of this person, but like why benches? Do you ever think about this? Like why that bench? Why did they sit at that particular bench? Like it never fucking says, it's like, oh, beloved by the family. Like tell me why that bench? Just, hello truck, I was saying something important, okay? Leave me the fuck alone. I'm going mentally crazy even more. And I don't think this podcast is helping, guys. Because, basically, because I'm the solo host, you got that part. You got why it's not helping, right? Great stuff. Let's move on to the background. Woo! Let's kick this off with Marshall Radcliffe, who was 24 at the time, described by others as mastermind, charismatic, lifelong obsession with bank robberies. What the fuck? If you know somebody has a lifelong obsession with something unhealthy, maybe you should intervene. Maybe, just maybe. You shouldn't just be like there waiting for them to get fucking caught and lynched before you give interviews for the newspapers, okay? God, this script is big. So the only picture of him I could find, he's like looking sideways. His face is up to the front, but he's kind of giving you a side eye. My comment on this: be present, my man, own up to your shit. Where is this charisma? Cause I don't see it. I have like a fucking 5-year-old dissing people in the kindergarten backyard. Who's got the jokes now, Mary, huh? I stole your ball now, huh? You ain't so brave now, huh, Mary? Yeah. Where's your charisma now? Yeah, you won't get better impression of a southern accent than that. So for one of these bank robberies that he has done, he got 18 years but was pardoned by the governor after serving a year, because apparently this governor was famous for doing this shit. Guys, what are we doing? Why are we pardoning somebody who got 18 years? Okay, so now his plans, of course, very elaborate, there's a whole 3-line paragraph about them. So his plans to like rob the First National Bank start, and he is not swayed when his brother Lee is in prison for a separate charge. This fucking guy, it's that type of thing when you get your Halloween costume and then you're like, no, doesn't matter, whatever, like the party is cancelled because whatever, coronavirus, no. Or it's like all white party, you're like, no, I gotta push this fucking Santa Claus costume. It's so original. This is when the date has to happen then. What the fuck? So, his brother is in prison, but not just that. So he reached out to Henry Helms, who was apparently the smartest one of them all, and Robert Hill, who is like the driver. So all of them are ex-cons. Yeah, they all knew each other from the little beautiful prison days. And now they find like another guy who is like Louis Davis. He's apparently desperate for the money, and he only agreed that he will do it if there won't be any bloodshed. But he only joined a few days before, as the safecracker that they had in the first place got flu last minute. This story. Like, what is your drive? Why do you have to do it around Christmas? Who told you that there was no Santa? Which sibling destroyed you, Marshall? Because you're clearly doing this on this specific date for a reason. It's like all of his plans fell through. He's like, nope, gotta do it. This is my life, this is what I chose to do, and this is the date. Fuck it, I gotta like fuck up some children and tell them to go ask their parents where the presents are. My initial commentary when writing the script: this is me mid-panic attack. It has to be done. There's no time. This is so true though. No, we gotta do it, it has to happen, like the world will end if it doesn't happen. Do you hear me? And then it's like, just breathe and move the date, ho. This reminds me like of the script for the third episode of Luigi Long. It's just so nonsensic. Now there's the only few bits about, well, kind of insights about his life/funeral because of this article, which was like, hey, the funeral happened, this and that. Oh my god, this article is just like firing fucking shots at this guy. Radcliffe's sweetheart, Florence Heron of Dallas, broke down. His friends and relatives filed past the cheap coffin. Okay, how much did the coffin cost? Like, if we are acting like fucking tabloids, at least give me the price. So it's only from this article we know like his mother was still alive, like he had 3 sisters. Apparently he had a girlfriend. It's like, why did nobody in your fucking family like stop you at any point? Why'd you have to get lynched in this period of time? This story is just like the most tragically comedic fucking event. Which of course brings me to the infamous section, morals of this story. Don't do crime, number 1. Crime does not pay. If you learned anything from here, it never pays. Yeah, you either, even if you get away with the money, you're gonna get lynched. Karma gonna get you. Even if you fake like that you are mentally ill and, you know, let other people hand feed you, karma gonna get you. Somebody please make a shirt with karma gonna get you. Now, my second point kind of defies the first one. If you do crime, know what motivated you in the first place and don't leave it behind. By don't leave it behind, I meant don't leave motivation behind. God, so wise, but still, don't do crime, okay? Because clearly in this case, the motivation was not strong enough. Clearly not. Now, point number 3 is when I go off. Plan, for fuck's sake, make a plan in life. I've seen more planning going to the off license across the road and getting a BEV. By that, I mean I planned it better than... I planned that event better than these guys planned the robbery. Maja, now you are dissing these guys. I mean, it's really not fair. It's really not fair. It just, it had some potential. It could have been a success, right? No, this literally had no fucking potential. You don't get attached to your Halloween costume. That's another moral of this story, okay? It started off all wrong, then the first 60 seconds of the robberies were like definite shit, and then it just went downhill from then on. Yeah, no, never had the potential. So yeah, great story, great case, round of applause. Now, let's go discuss the motives behind why the fuck did these guys do this dumb shit. Now, motives, money, right? You got it. For the first time ever, yep, I can agree with some of you that some of this was potentially, yes, motivated by profit. Okay. But then, more than that, flashy costumes, you know, other people going in with him. Robbing for the sake of robbing and just attention seeking really can be considered sort of a primary motive in my case, because clearly, as I mentioned, they weren't that motivated by the money, because otherwise why the fuck leave sex of like millions of dollars today behind? Like, isn't that like, oh, you kind of like lift it, it's kind of heavy, you know it's on you, you went to the bank. Like, one of those geniuses should have maybe remembered like, hey, yeah, there's 4 of us and suddenly we don't have a sack of money on us. Or I think there was a bit of like spite, like, yep, there's that robbery reward, it is a bit of a challenge, let's see if we can do it, let's see if we can stick it to the man. Which one do you think it was? What do you agree/disagree with? Let me know, I'm dying to hear your thoughts. This is how we lie to you. As podcasters, this is how we lie. The sources for this podcast have been All Crime No Cattle, amazing podcast just focusing on Texan crimes. It's great stuff. Listen to it, guys. Yeah, they narrate it in a much more serious and nice style, but yeah, listen to them. Mental Floss, Wikipedia, and Find a Grave, which gave me this newspaper article telling me it's all about the cheap coffin, which means told me nothing about the cheap coffin, but hey, I am not into coffins anyways. What? We're done. We're moving on with our lives from this nonsensical robbery with a cool name and such a shitty plot. Now do what you do best, girl. Do what you do best. Santa Claus is coming down. Now, for this section, I figured I can jumble up some recommendations and do something different. So in the spirit of Cinco de Mayo, I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories about Mexican legends. The first one being La Llorona. So who is this La Llorona? Who is this crying woman, which is the literal translation, or as Wikipedia says, wailing woman, because WW apparently reads better. I don't know. This is a legend about a girl named Maria. No last name, no family details. No date of birth, no nothing, okay? Maria. She came from the poor family, but she was known in her village for her beauty. So once a wealthy nobleman came into the village, he was mesmerized by her beauty. So Maria is charmed by him and his money, and he is charmed by her beauty. So, of course, this leads to a proposal. Most logical steps. Let's do it. The 2 of them marry, and Maria gives birth to 2 of their sons. And then the legend says he has been traveling, and every time he would return, Maria was noticing that he was distancing himself and she suspected he was cheating. Until these suspicions came true once this guy, which we don't know the name of, again, because it's a legend, 1 name is sufficient, so he returns with a young lover. Says bye to his old family, including the kids. Maria goes ballistic, she takes her children to a river and drowns them in an anger fit. She realizes what she has done and starts searching for them, but the river already carried them away. And then, as this legend goes, is her husband returned to see the children. He asked her what the hell happened, and she says she drowned them. So he was furious, and he now says unless she finds their children, she can't be with him any longer. Knowing what she had done, she now drowns herself, and now she spends the eternity looking for her children in hell. So it is said if you hear her crying, you should A, run the opposite way, but also if you hear her crying, they could also bring you misfortune or even death. The whole legend is around her crying and wailing, taking children from the families and drowning them in the river, where she drowned her sons and herself. Now, this is obviously a famous legend. Loads of movies have been made about it, like the one which I think came out last year, The Curse of La Llorona with Linda Cardellini. By the way, watch Dead to Me, the 2nd season with Linda Cardellini. She is so gorgeous. Yeah, I wish I could pull off the fringe like her. But anyways, it's a good light-hearted show on Netflix, okay? Go watch it. I hope they don't fuck it up. By the way, I watched like half of it yet, so I hope they don't mess up this season. And many parents in Latin America and in Mexico in particular still use this story to scare their children from, well, misbehaving, but like, according to this Wikipedia article, from staying out too late. You know, light-hearted stuff that you tell your kids. I would love to know what your version of La Llorona is in your country. Just as a fun fact, in Serbia we have Baba Roga. The literal translation is a grandma with a horn. So it is said that this woman again is hunting for the kids who are misbehaving, ill-mannered. And depending on the family, you will either hear that, yeah, she's just gonna put you in her sack, in her bag, and drag you to like a cave where nobody will find you. And again, you'll be like eaten up. You're dead basically. Again, this is a story that like, yeah, my family would tell me as a child, more my bro than me, but yeah, they would still like tell us this story, again, as light-hearted. So tell me what it is in your country, and what kind of plot your parents invented to surround it. Would the kids always end up dead? And also, why do you have to tell your kids these stories? Why are we not enough of an authority? We just invent these stories for the kids, for them to just not be able to sleep, and then you ask us how we are into true crime. Please, connect the dots. Now, the story of La Llorona is like quite famous. It has been, as I said, made into movies and into different like just portrayals, and it is famous in plenty of the countries. Now, the other story is again very much Mexican, and I have never heard about it until I researched on it. It's the legend of La Pascualita.
So it's a story about this family that owned a bridal shop in Chihuahua in Mexico, and the mom was called Pascuala Esparza. So according to the story, they were preparing this daughter to be married when she was like tragically bitten by a black widow spider and just succumbed to the poison on her wedding day, and she died. So it wasn't long after her death that they actually placed this mannequin in the shop, and this whole legend is about this mannequin, whether it is a real mannequin or if it is a corpse of Pascualita, the daughter of Pascuala. What I thought about when I heard both of these names is like, how Christian is this family? And I haven't seen this anywhere, but pretty much the Pascuala name, I suppose it is from Pascuas, which is Easter. So I don't know, is this like something where this legend have to do more with religion than anything else? Just because it has to do with the death again? But, so, there's a mannequin in the freaking shop. And why this is speculated is because of how realistic this mannequin looks. Truly, I have looked on different pictures. It is nothing like any mannequin I have seen ever. Especially the face is really realistic, but especially look at the hands. The hands is what everybody's talking about. They just look like, you know, when a victim is kidnapped and they do the age progression pictures, that's how those hands look like. They have like lifelines, they look like they have aged, they look like the fingers have aged as well. It is creepy as hell. By the way, I'm doing both of these because I have been binging on Eleanor Neale and Kendall Ray, and I think Kendall covered both of these legends in her videos, so I'll drop the link down below. But also, what I'm gonna say next on these speculations, whether it can be a corpse or a mannequin, are from the Ask a Mortician, another great YouTube channel. And again, super famous if you are into true crime, because Caitlin Doherty is basically a most famous funeral director, because she has a YouTube channel for the past 8 years or more. And she just makes like really relatable content on everything from like most common questions about funerals to like how to deal with grief. And I love her, like she's great. Anyways, she kind of debunks both theories. So if this was to actually be a corpse and not a mannequin, that would either mean Pascualita is being embalmed, and that would require a lot of work, basically taking the corpse or mannequin, whatever you believe, out of the window still to like really preserve it. So it would require you to take the body out, go through the embalming process, and then put her back into the wedding dress and put her back outside. Which again, like the mannequin is just there in the shop, like people would notice, the passersby would notice if this mannequin was actually to get outside of the shopping window for like long periods of time. The second point would be if she was taxidermied, which wouldn't maybe require as much time, but it would require stitches, and there's no visible stitches, even though like people might debate that they might be underneath the wedding dress, but there's just not visible stitches that you would have if it was just like a taxidermied body. And Caitlin also says like she wouldn't look that lifelike. Like just think about basically the animals that have been taxidermied and how they look like. They don't look like real life animals. So those are the stories. Who fucked with us on so many levels as we were kids, and now who is fucking with us with Pascualita, and how did they find the most realistic mannequin? Who made it? And I wanna say why they're not making mannequins for other shops to display, but then that would be fucking creepy. Just Google how she looks like. That would be eerie. Like, I bet some people would never shop at those shops. So you see, as this case was short, I decided to give you another 2 short stories, because this is how I operate. I wanted to say, leave a like if you like this video, so I know to make further ones, and subscribe. Can you tell I have been watching YouTube like non-stop? Well, don't leave a like, but you can leave a review. You can praise me on Twitter, thatbamnpod, or just tell me how much you enjoyed this, but tagging me on Instagram, again, thatbamnpod, or just email me podbamn@gmail.com and let me know if you would like this style of having a case and then having like a 5 minutes of a mini case to follow it. I am super interested, by the way, to see your versions of either haunted stories in your country or like the boogie stories. And what did your parents tell you that they do with kids? Boom, that's it for a Monday. And now, guess what? You're transported into your next Zoom call. What are you doing there? Like, how uncomfortable. Well, what you're doing this week is you are assessing who else is looking for a new job. There's always that one person that doesn't actually like work for the HR or anything, but they're like, hey guys, you should really improve careers page. Look at this company's careers page. And you're like, pretty sure this is not your job to look at other people's careers page. Oh, wait, see, you know how to spot those people now. So you just join the meeting and just ask them like, oh, hey, so just depending on how this corona situation progresses, how safe are our jobs, what is the plan in action for us not to be furloughed? And then just watch the faces of other people, and you will see in their eyes if they're like attentively being like nodding their head like, yes, tell us. That probably means they're out there seeking other jobs as well. You can always mention the actual stats by like Uber and Airbnb, where they have basically fired like 20% of their staff. And just watch the managers squirm, and then watch your colleagues kind of like follow through that. And then you see the eyes and you're like, later you DM them, you're like, hook me up, sister, okay? Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's start our own company. It has never been better time, and it has never been worse time, which is perfect. You decide where you work and how you live your life, right? Right. Now I bet I changed some opinions about all of those people who are like, ooh, careers page needs improvement. How'd you know that? How'd you know that? You just like by yourself in your free time research other people's career pages? Bitch, please. Maja, always the advocate for quitting your fucking office job. And have you spoken to your work crush yet? Have you spoken to your work wife and work husband? And if not, why not? Why the fuck are you a coward? What is happening in this neighborhood? You see, crime is what is happening. People are not cowards. They're still doing their shit. They're still fucking following their trade. So why are you not following your trade to getting yourself laid? That rhymed. Not intentionally. Move on. Move the fuck on with your Mondays and send me your stories. Send me your own Lloronas and tell me if you fucked your work wife yet. The importance and the ranges. We have it all. We love it. God, why don't you go away already, making this world a better place, one motive at a time? Bye, guys.